Good evening. Those of you who have enjoyed or have joined us for our webinar this evening, if you are in Asia, it'll be evening. If you're joining us from other parts like North America, it'll be earlier in the morning for you, but we're glad that you've joined us. My name is Peter, and we are going to be talking to you about the question of why teach in China now? And we're going to be providing you with some insights, and they'll come as a result of my position that I have as Superintendent of Schools here with Maple Leaf Educational Systems in China. So we're going to try and move this slide on. How do you move the slide forward? There we go. Just here. Thank you. So our agenda today is going to focus on the following. We will be talking to you about the format and the house rules that we'll follow. We'll introduce our hosts for you this evening. And then we have a couple of questions that we're going to talk about. Why are offshore schools a great opportunity? And in the context of today's world situation, we'll have a discussion in that regard as well. Then between each of these sessions, we're going to give you a question and answer session that will be available for you. Then we will go on to a second question. What is the experience like of working at Maple Leaf specifically? This is a school network that I'll talk about at that time. Followed by another question and answer session. And then we will carry on with how do teachers personally benefit from working overseas, not just as Maple Leaf, but as an opportunity of working with overseas schools. We'll follow that by a further Q&A, and then we'll wrap up with concluding comments at that point. So the format is as follows. There's going to be 3 sections that I just talked about, and followed by the Q&A. And then the one thing that we're asking, if you have a case-specific question that you have an urgent need to have us answered, we'll gladly do that for you, but we'll do that preferably through our career panelists. So if you've got a personal issue, let's direct it in that location. Otherwise, we'll be dealing with general questions that are applicable to a broader audience. So if you're also interested in an immediate or instant interview, we have panelists, career panelists standing by, and all you need to do is send a chat to the careers panelist, and they'll be available to assist you. My name is Dr. Peter Froese. A little bit about me. I've been around education for over 3 decades. I began my education in public education in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and then continued my education in independent schools in the same province in British Columbia. And more recently, I have been spending the last 2 years in offshore schools here in China with Maple Leaf. I have a bit of education under my belt. I was fortunate enough to have a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate degree, which I obtained in educational leadership and policy from University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. And as I pointed out, for the last 2 years, I've been the superintendent of schools for Maple Leaf here in China. A little bit about Maple Leaf in China. Our school system has education from elementary through to secondary. Elementary and middle schools are teaching the Chinese curriculum. And for students who are attending the grades 10 through 12 program, we're offering an international education program. And that international education program has been certified by the province of British Columbia. And so our students, when they graduate from a degree or a diploma in Maple Leaf, they are given a dogwood diploma that enables them to graduate from or attend pretty well any university in North America. In fact, probably any English-speaking university in the world. We have 15 of these schools in China, and another one that will be opening up in September. 3 of them are foreign national schools. We have a student enrollment of about 7,000 in these schools, teachers of about 400 as well. I have had previous experience of working overseas as an inspector for the province of British Columbia of offshore schools. So I'm familiar with a good many of the offshore schools in China that are also certified by the province of British Columbia. There's about 37 of them in all of China. So let's get on with part 1 of our webinar. But before I begin, I need you to look at my background, the background to the image that you see of me. That happens to be the Maple Leaf campus in Dalian, China. It is a magnificent campus with a tremendous amount of facilities that I'll talk about later. And a little story before I begin. My first year that I started here, my wife is with me, and we happened to be driving by to head for the grocery store to pick up some groceries to get our apartment ready to go. And when we drove by the Dalian campus, she looked at it and said, "Is that a school?" Yes, in China, the schools are much larger than the schools that we will see in North America. They're more like a community, providing housing, dorms, educational facilities, recreational facilities. It is an entirely different structure than what you will see in of schools in North America. Offshore school opportunities. I would argue that the most significant feature of an offshore school opportunity is the enriching and rewarding experience of living in another culture. I've spent time in Europe for 4 years in a previous offshore experience that I participated in. This is my second opportunity to live outside of Canada. And I have been so pleased by the experiences that you can gain from, in this case, the culture, the Chinese culture, the richness of the people. They are such a warm people that you can't help but be coming away with the experience that you've been enriched in some way. A great place to begin an offshore schools opportunity. The school communities also, because the Chinese culture or community is quite different than what you would find in Canada, the school communities become extended families for many of the teachers that are here. I don't speak Mandarin. I wish I did. And so those of us that do not speak Mandarin would tend to connect with people that are familiar with the English language. And that tends to be the foreign teachers that are part of the school community. And so there's lots of social events that take place, recreational opportunities, and that builds relationships with your colleagues that you otherwise wouldn't have a chance to meet. And I'll point out that the colleagues that you have in offshore schools tend to come from a much broader representation of countries around the world, besides, in this case, Canada, where I come from. It's also interesting that if you want to compare living standards or cost of living, so to speak, to Canada, for example, you will find that in Canada, it's expensive to live. In Western Canada, where I come from, Vancouver is a lovely city. I'm grateful to call it home, but it's expensive. When you come to China, you get wonderful opportunities. This is not a third world country. This is a well-developed country, and all of the amenities are available here, but the cost of living is very, very low. And that's an advantage. If you're choosing to come to China and you want to save some money at the same time, it's a great opportunity to do that. Many of the teachers who choose to come to offshore schools in Asia, they do so because of the tremendous travel opportunities. I'll talk later about some of the holiday breaks that we have within our school calendar, but travel is tremendous in offshore schools. The richness of this culture, which goes back 5,000 years, is amazing. To visit some of these old cities, to be able to walk the Great Wall of China, something that I had on my bucket list years ago and was able to do that now several times during the 2 years that I've been here. It's a great, great opportunity. Okay, it should be advancing, but it chooses not to. Let's see if we can coax it here a little bit. There we go. One of the things that you will notice in offshore schools is that we have a large representation of new teachers, young teachers, those that have just finished their teacher training program. And they're here on their first teaching experience. And you'll also see a number of people who've been teaching for a long time, and they're taking a second go at teaching in an offshore school for another professional opportunity. A great opportunity for both groups of people, the new teachers that are just starting their career, and those that have already been in education for a number of years and are looking for another opportunity. A friend of mine put it this way, who was coming to offshore school, said, there's still gas in the tank, so why not try another opportunity? Teachers here can strengthen their skills and practices before they ever transfer back to the state where they came from, or to public education, or wherever they call home. This is important because part of the thrill of being a teacher is that you're constantly growing in your education. You're learning, you're a lifelong learner. And offshore schools allows that for you to happen. And it's especially important because you're speaking with colleagues, you're having the opportunity to teach with colleagues who come from various parts of the world. Not just Canada, not just the United States, but they're here from the UK as well. They're here from Australia. They're here from various countries within Africa, from Jamaica, from South Africa, and wonderful people that we have a chance to connect with. Teachers benefit from the type of students that they are able to teach. One of the major differences that you'll see in offshore schools is that the students that we are engaged with, they tend to not bring the same type of challenges that some of our kids bring to us from schools in Canada. Our students come there focused. They tend to collaborate and cooperate well with the teacher. And so management issues become, or classroom management issues become less onerous than many of our schools that we encounter in Canada. You will notice in offshore schools, students are motivated. Their families are behind them. Education is incredibly important for families in China, as it is in other schools as well, or in other parts of the world. But in China particularly, the families do indeed want their children to succeed. They want them to go to post-secondary schools, and they want their kids to do well in their educational program. The opportunities also allow our teachers to develop professionally. I talked earlier about the fact that our teachers are from all over the world. When you collaborate with these teachers, you gain some professional skills and knowledge because they've been taught and trained in different teacher training programs. And so that enriches you as a professional teacher as well. Very, very helpful. The experience also exposes you to different pedagogical practices due to the wide variety of staff that you find in offshore schools. As a result, you'll see teachers learning from one another. You'll see a much more collaborative atmosphere in offshore schools than you might see in some of our schools in North America. I alluded earlier to the type of facilities that are available in China. The schools are spacious. They're large campuses that have lots of classrooms. There are large 1,000-seat auditoriums, double gymnasiums. There are labs for the sciences, chem, physics, and bio. There are foods labs. There's large libraries, track and field facilities, gorgeous track and field facilities. You will see dormitories because many of the schools in China are residential. There's dorms for the students. They come here for a period of time and then they return home during a break period. Not like schools in Canada where they are day students. Students arrive in the morning, go home in the evening, and the same routine gets repeated the following day. Here, the students are on campus. They arrive in September. They're here in September till the October break. And then from the October break, they're here through until the Spring Festival and so on. There are large cafeterias that are available for food services. Staff, many of the staff live right on the campus. It's like a little community that we have that's active. Now that's not the case with all offshore schools. There are many offshore schools in China that have a set of classrooms and a space within a Chinese school system. And so they have this international module that is available for students who want to have an international education and fast track their opportunity to a university in some English-speaking country. Maple Leaf, I'll talk a little bit about that. Our own system, Maple Leaf Schools, was the very first school that was approved in the country of China to be able to provide an international 10 through 12 graduation program in China. And that school happened to begin right here in Dalian with a colossal 14 students. We had very meager beginnings to our school in 1995. And since that time, the school system has grown to the 15, 16 schools that we now have. And that has grown over a 25-year period. This current year, on the 28th of May, we celebrated our 25th anniversary. But we have been offering the British Columbia curriculum for the past 25 years, and that has served us well. One of the things that we have noticed is that as provinces, in this case British Columbia, adapt and improve their curriculum, some of their curriculum tends to focus more on the province of British Columbia. And so that becomes a challenge for offshore schools like ourselves, who are looking for something that is more relevant to Chinese students in this way. And that is why for next year, Maple Leaf will be beginning a new world school curriculum that continues with our vision that we've had for 25 years, that is blending the best of the curriculum, assessment, and pedagogical practices of the West and the East, so that our students get a good grasp of Western education and Eastern educational practices as well. That won't change under the new curriculum. I'll speak more about that a little bit later. We've had a challenge this last semester, and the challenge relates to the global pandemic that has been taking place around the world. Since February, well, it's actually a bit earlier than that, when the coronavirus was discovered, it has resulted in a lot of challenges for China, and they have worked hard to get control of the virus, and they have. I would argue that China is one of the safest countries in the world to be right now, because there are very few new cases of the coronavirus. And yet it's plaguing many of the countries around the world, including my own country, Canada. In the United States is dealing with challenges, Brazil, Russia, Europe. But what that's created is a new way to do education for offshore schools and domestic schools as well. And so we have implemented an online learning system from a program called Canvas, a learning management system, where our teachers are using their classrooms to teach the students no matter where they are. We have, at that time, our Chinese students were in their homes. Our teachers were located all over the world. And they were developing learning resources that they are sharing with one another. So the opportunity and the challenges of this past semester with the coronavirus has actually provided a rich collection of learning resources for our teachers, because they've been able to develop that and collect those resources and share those with colleagues. So it's out of a challenging situation, there have been some real benefits for us as well. Okay, it's time to give you the opportunity to ask me some questions. So I've got a poll question that you might want to ask me about. And the one I'm posing for you right now is, what would be your concern about teaching overseas? And if you want to raise your hand, I'll see if I can click on it and answer your question. So those of you that have a question, now's your chance. Okay, Maria, what can I do for you?
Yes, I would like to ask about the language, please.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The question was, she would like to know about the language piece. In the instruction that we provide in Maple Leaf is English. The instruction is entirely in the English language. However, our students are able to graduate with a dual diploma. And the dual diploma is a Chinese diploma as well as a British Columbia diploma. So we do also offer Mandarin to our students, and we also offer Chinese social studies. So those courses are taught by certified Chinese teachers. But for those that are employed by Maple Leaf from foreign locations, the language of instruction is English.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Maria. Any other questions? Hi, Dominique. What can I do for you? Okay, you want to unmute your mic, please, Dominique?
Oh, yes. Hello, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. So I sent a question through the chat saying, with regards to safety, given the global problems that we've been seeing on the media, what are your strategies on keeping the teachers safe while they are overseas?
Okay,
Like,
that's a really good question, Dominique. So I'm going to spend a little time on that one. And I'm going to make it personal. I came back to, I was in Canada over the Spring Festival and came back to China in about the middle of February. And my family back home said, Peter, do not go back to China. It's not safe. Don't go back to China. And at that time, the virus had not had a significant impact on the United States or in Canada, or it was in Italy. They were dealing with it in Europe, but not in North America. And so my family was saying, I'm putting myself in danger by coming to China. And I got to tell you that even at that time, when I flew over here, I had to wear a mask, I had to wear gloves, and I was put in quarantine for a short period of time. But I can tell you that I feel safe here. I don't feel at risk. There are rigorous protections that are taking place in the community and within our own campus as well. For example, I went out to dinner this evening with some colleagues, and when we came back, my temperature was taken. In the morning, when I arrive on the campus, I have to show an app to indicate that I have not been in an area of China where I might have come in contact with somebody who had been exposed to the virus. There are such few cases of a coronavirus right now in China. They're in the single digits. It's really a safe place. We are taking good precautions here on campus. We still require all our teachers to wear masks. I have mine readily available here if I need it. And all of our teachers wear masks, and we ask our students to wear masks as well, for their own safety and for the safety of others. We want to make sure that if we can minimize the risk, we want to do that for our teachers. I know that we get mixed messages when you hear that the border is closed for China, but right now that closure is not so much to control the virus within China, it's to control the risk of getting a second wave coming from outside of China. But if you are here, I think you can rest assured that you will be very, very safe. I'm extending my time here. I feel very safe in China, and I would argue that if you were able to come, you'd find that feeling in very short order if you just spent some time in the community and in your school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see another hand. Dominic, we just did that. Okay, all right. I think I'm going to move on. I've answered the questions. Let's proceed on with the presentation. And my title has slipped over to the side, so I'm going to move a little bit. All right, now I'm going to talk about the Maple Leaf experience a little bit. Our school system that we have here in China, the Maple Leaf educational system, it is accredited by two very important agencies. One is the Ministry of Education from the province of British Columbia. The second is an accrediting agency out of the United States that has a global impact. It is the largest accreditation agency in the world, and we are also accredited by Cognia, formerly called Advanced Ed. Their role is to ensure that we are providing a quality educational program for our students. The British Columbia government inspects our schools on an annual basis. Cognia works with us on a 5-year cycle, and they come in and do a full accreditation to ensure that we are ensuring that we are improving our educational program here in China as well. The other thing that you might be aware of if you were trying to compare North American schools to schools here in China is that the first thing you'll notice that the students are all predominantly ESL students, English as a second language learners. And you have to teach differently for English as a second language learners. That's something that takes some adjusting to, especially for those teachers that are experienced teachers that are coming in to just add to their life's career. They have to adapt to the English language learners. Well, I'll talk about that. The other advantage that we have, the difference is that our class sizes are quite small. We tend to work with a ratio of 24 students to 1. The reason for that is the fewer the students, the greater the opportunity we have for teachers to give more one-on-one support for our students. As I pointed out, we have ESL learners, and so for them, they're learning a graduation program, skills and concepts that is the same as what students in the province of British Columbia are learning. And they are learning it from in their mother tongue, which is not the case for our students here in China. So we need to make some provisions for our students. One is a smaller class size. Another is a program called Success Room. This is a really important support for our students. And what it is, it's an area of the school that is designated for those students that may be struggling with some of the skills and concepts. It could be that they are struggling with some of the vocabulary that they're trying to understand in, say, physics or biology. And so they would end up going to the Success Room, and we would have opportunities for the teachers or the department heads of those particular departments to be available in the Success Room to get that extra support that the students need to support their learning. So it's a tremendous way to help our kids successfully graduate with a Dogwood diploma in grade 12. In Maple Leaf, our students graduate with 2 diplomas, as I said earlier. They have a Chinese diploma and they have the Dogwood diploma from the province of British Columbia. Okay, there we go. The students are different. Not because, well, certainly they look different because it's a different culture, but their focus on education is different. You will not see a student here in China that will be dealing with the drug problem. You won't see drug sales in schools in China, which you will in North American schools. You'll find that there is a discipline that the society brings to the educational program and to the environment in our schools. And so when teachers teach in offshore schools, they can focus on supporting the students' learning to a greater extent because the social issues that sometimes get brought into schools in our schools back home take up a fair bit of time for our teachers. And that does not have to be the case here in China. You will also find that our students have a tremendous interest in learning and advancement. They're here to learn. They're not here to for a teacher to struggle to get the kids to learn. The students here want to learn. They want to be successful. They are motivated to pursue a post-secondary career, and many of them already know which universities they're targeting to try and get an opportunity to enter or an offer. So again, it's a group of kids that are a delight to teach. And that's what teachers will tell you when they finish their time in offshore schools. They say, what we will miss the most are the students, the opportunity to work with the kids and how delightful that's been. So it's a tremendous opportunity, well worth considering. Families strongly support education, as they do in families back home. But in China, I would argue education is a higher priority than in many of our families back home. In Maple Leaf, I alluded to this, our campus is a community. We are foreign teachers to a large extent. We don't speak the Chinese language, Mandarin, and so we connect with one another. The other thing is our students are part of this community. They live on campus. And so you will see students engaged in activities after school. You'll see club activities. And if you ever get a chance to see a talent show, this semester it hasn't been possible because of the unique nature of the virus that's affected schools. But in a normal year, if you see kids in a talent show, it's amazing the skills that those students can demonstrate. Those are activities that they learn here right on campus. It's great. In September of this year, we will be embarking on a change for Maple Leaf Schools. We are going to take and create a curriculum that will more appropriately suit the students that we are teaching. We have the curriculum for grade 10 ready to go. We will have the curriculum, we've got the scope and sequence for 11 and 12, and that curriculum will be developed for the next 2 years. But I wish I could share that curriculum with you. It is amazing. The beauty of it is that these are teachers who are teaching with us at the present time, who know the kind of students that we're teaching, and they know the kind of activities and content that our students need to be familiar with. And so rather than social studies, for example, that you might see that might represent a provincial environment a little more clearly, in this case, we have world studies that tends to take a global perspective, world studies and geography, to help our students get a global perspective. We are focusing doubly on the English language development in 10 through 12. Students will be required to take 2 full English courses in each of the 3 years. We want to strengthen our kids' ability in dealing with leadership skills and personal development. And so we've created a course that supports that for our students so that they are better prepared for post-secondary learning. Then we also have, we want to strengthen their creative thinking. One of the issues that you will see with Chinese students, they're very good at following instructions, following directions that you provide with them from by the teachers. Well, in this case, we're wanting our teachers to be more creative with their thinking. We're wanting them to sort out issues and deal with problems in a more real life setting. So we're going to support that through the course called Creative Thinking and Problem Solving. I mentioned earlier the Mandarin and Chinese social studies. We'll continue with that. We're introducing dual credit courses. We've got partnerships with universities in Canada and Australia. And our students in grade 12 will be able to take a course that will give them credit for grade 12, as well as credit for first year, giving them first year credit for that course in the university that they're attending. And then finally, we also have AP courses in grade 12 for those that are highly motivated and want to pursue, say, Calculus 12 to a higher level. They can do that through the AP courses that we have, Calculus, English, the various sciences, chem, physics, and bio. And they are better prepared for post-secondary through taking these courses. And then we'll have a variety of electives, and that changes from school to school. It's not the same elective is not offered in each of the schools. In some of our schools, we've got golf instruction. In many of our schools, it's food courses that many of our students really like. And there's IT, robotics that we have available. So it gives the students a well-rounded education and prepares them for post-secondary. Okay, we're back to an opportunity for some questions. I've given you a question that you can think about. What do you think international schools could do better to prepare students for university? That happens to be one of the main objectives of our students, is they want to get into the best universities around the world. But if you've got a response there, I'd be happy to hear you. But for now, I've got one hand, so I'm going to go to Lynn. So Lynn, over to you. What can I do for you? Hi, Lynn. Do you want to unmic or unmute your mic? I can't get a connection. Lynn, are you wanting to ask a question? Because for some reason, I'm not able to get in touch with you this time. Okay, I'm sorry, Lynn, but I can't connect with you. I apologize for that. Okay, I see Maria. Can I go to Maria?
Yes, hello, doctor.
How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I can't complain. Life is good.
Yes, I'd like to answer the question, what do I think international schools could do better to prepare students for university? I'm at university myself, so I think to prepare students for university, you can enforce self-directed learning for the learners to be more prepared for the university. I don't know if you already do that, but self-directed learning is better to prepare the students.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Thanks for making that. I know that that's one of our key objectives that we try to do. Our kids need to be prepared for universities, and anything we can do to help. So thanks very much for your suggestion.
Pleasure.
Okay, any other questions? Dominique, are you, I've got talking permitted for you. Have you got a question?
No, for now I'm fine.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I do agree with Marie that being independent thinking, looking at how the world is changing, and being able to do problem solving. I think that's why you are restructuring the curriculum so that you can incorporate those skills, that they can be critical thinkers and problem solvers, because going to university, they will need that even in the world. So I think you're doing that. Yeah.
I agree, Dominique. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, I'm going to keep going because I notice my time is running away on me, but and I've got one more section to deal with. So if you have a question, just hold that. We've got one more Q&A opportunity later on, and we'll deal with your question at that time. So what are the benefits? There's got to be some benefits. If you're going to come all the way to this side of the world, what are some of the benefits? I've got to tell you, one of the key benefits is a financial issue. You don't even have to try to save money in offshore environments. It is the cost of living is low. The salaries are very good. Their salaries are comparable to salaries back in North America. And so if you're looking to pay down debt, for example, great place to do it in an offshore school. In fact, many of our first-year teachers, they come with significant debt from their university. Many of them have those debts looked after within a year and a half. And they would never be able to do that if they were to stay in Western Canada, for example, around Vancouver. It would take them much, much longer than that. There are challenges. Life isn't completely rosy. We have challenges from time to time. We have teachers from all over the world, and sometimes to make sure that the funding or the money that you have gets transferred to your home. You have that opportunity because here you can ask that the company invests or sends a portion of your monthly pay to your home country, and some of it you may want to have stored in a bank here, if you will, here in China for whatever your activities. Many of our teachers travel a fair bit, and so they need to have funds available in renminbi here in China. One thing that I have really been impressed with is the quality of healthcare. A lot of people, when they come to or think about going to offshore schools, they're worried, okay, what's healthcare like? I don't know about China. Healthcare can't be really good in China, can it? Well, I can tell you that healthcare is outstanding here in China. And I know because 2 years ago, I actually had surgery in the Shanghai hospital for a growth on one of my kidneys. And so I had surgery, and the support I had was phenomenal. And so I don't think people need to fear the healthcare system, at least in this country. It is very, very good. Others are wondering about, what about education for my family if I've got kids that need an education? We have 3 of our schools that are called foreign national schools. And these schools provide an education from pre-K to grade 9. Unfortunately, they're only in 3 locations. And so if you're wanting to be employed with Maple Leaf, you just need to let us know that you've got families, and we'll try to locate you in schools that are in close proximity to some of our foreign national schools. So the education that your kids can get is significantly subsidized by Maple Leaf. And so your kids can carry on with an education while you're providing education to students here in China. As well as one of the things that is really important, building relationships with other teachers. If you come to China and you want to act alone, it could be a very lonely experience. But if you are interested in engaging with other people, collaborating with other people, you will find it extremely enriching, something that I said at the very beginning. One of the things that's really important is that because teachers, foreign teachers, they come to offshore schools, and on average, their stay is approximately 3.2 years. There is a regular transition of foreign teachers into our schools. And what that does, it creates a tremendous advantage or an opportunity for advancement, for positions and duties beyond the classroom teaching responsibilities. You can be department head, a registrar, academic advisors. You can be systems coordinators. These are individuals that are selected to provide support for all of our schools that we have here. You can be an educational coordinator, and these are individuals who are wanting to proceed on a leadership path where they want to get into a vice principalship or a principal role. And so what will happen is they are given an education coordinator position where they're starting to be given the opportunity to experience what it means to be a leader, an educational leader in our schools. Vice principal positions tend to be hired from within people who are already working in China. And then principals as well, we hire them from within and also from locations in other parts of Canada. And, well, Canada primarily, because we are a British Columbia school for now. Connections are amazing that you can build, and I said from around the world. Many of those individuals that have left China or are leaving China, they'll talk about the fact that their friends in China have become their second family. I will talk about the friends in China who have become my second family. I'm really privileged to have the kinds of friends that I've acquired over the last 2 years, and I'm not the only one that went through those experiences. That's something that is unique and common to others as well. Others like China so well that they proceed with marriage opportunities, and they choose to make China their home. Holidays I talked about, where there are a number of breaks that we have. Our salary gets paid over a 12-month period, and we get a 1-week break in October where our teachers tend to travel. We get a 4-week break during the Spring Festival in late January, early February. And many people go home during that time to be with family and then come back and finish semester 2. We have a national holiday in May, again for a week. And then there are 6 weeks of summer holiday, giving our teachers the opportunity to teach a total of 191 days, which constitutes a full year of employment. If you want to be successful in offshore schools, really, really important. Find a balance to your life. Don't focus entirely on your work. Make sure you take advantage of the culture that you have the privilege to live in, and be flexible. There's a lot of things that can be thrown at you as a teacher that you didn't expect. Just go with the flow, be flexible, adapt that, modify it for the next day. It all sorts its way out. It's really, really important to be adaptable and flexible. Okay, so that brings me to my last question. And I've left a question for you, but I think I've already answered that. What is a teacher's average length of stay in China? And I think I said that to be about 3.2 years. There are people who've been here for much, much longer. I've got colleagues who are teaching and they've been here for 14, 16 years. One of the individuals I know has been here for 16 years and they love it. So it depends what your intentions are. If you're here for a short time, you can be here for a 2-year contract or longer. Or if you choose to make China your home, you can be here for a lot longer than that. So I'm going to go to your questions for one last time. It's a very short period, but let's see what we can do here. If I got a hand here for Lynn, I'll go to Lynn. Okay. Lynn, have I got you there? No, your hand is down. Okay. Then I don't see, oh, there's Dominique. She threw her hand up just in the nick of time. Dominique, what can I answer for you?
Oh, so you spoke about the opportunities to teach online because of this this situation we find ourselves in. Like, how long is that, and what are your perspective at the moment in terms of teaching online without maybe particularly being in China at the moment? Because in different countries, borders are not opening yet, but schools have to carry on. Yeah. Yeah,
that's a good question. Right now, we haven't got a choice to teach online. Our students are back in session, so now we're teaching what we call a blended program. That is, there's classroom instruction combined with online learning. We still have a number of our teachers that are in other locations around the world, and they, through our Canvas learning management system, are able to teach our students who are here in schools. It's quite a unique opportunity. We will continue to use online learning once the schools return to back in session, and we're expecting that for next year. That is in September. We're very hopeful that the borders will be open, that our teachers will be able to be here, and we will start normally. But even though we will have a normal beginning with classroom teachers and students in our schools, we are expecting to continue to use some support strategies and learning strategies with the Canvas learning system. So it will add to the program that we have available for our students.
So is that September of this 2020 or September of 2021?
Oh, no, it's September of 2020. We're expecting to be in full swing on September 2020.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No, that makes sense. All right.
Thanks for asking your question. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the last slide that I have here. I want to point you out to the campus view that you see. This is the picture that my wife saw that I referenced at the start of this webinar. And that's where she said, is that a school? Yes, that's our school here in Dalian. I encourage you, if you're looking for an offshore experience, consider Maple Leaf. We are a strong organization. We are experienced. We've worked out all our challenges. Well, we continue to have challenges, but we've worked out a lot of the issues that have enabled us to be have a strong foundation to the educational program that we're providing for our students. Our theme is integrity, innovation, professionalism, and excellence. And we're proud to be delivering those for our students. And we encourage you to stay connected with us. We will provide further webinars as we have the opportunity. And I want to thank you for joining us. I've appreciated you having you with us. I wish you well in whatever your decisions are. And I know that you would find an experience in an offshore school very beneficial. So thank you for being a part of our webinar tonight, or morning if you're in that part of the world. We wish you all the best, and bye for now.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, Doctor.
Bye-bye.